If you play games online, you are probably fighting lag Google Stadia could never fix. Stadia promised console-quality play streamed instantly like Netflix, and it broke the 30-millisecond input budget cloud gaming can never beat. Here is the strange part. Google had almost infinite money, one of the best networks on Earth, and YouTube to promote it. And Stadia still died. So this was not a marketing stumble. It was structural. Which leaves one real question. Is that lag a problem you can engineer away or a law of physics? Start with the pitch. In 2019, Stadia launched with a bold promise. No console, no download, nothing to install. You would stream games in 4K at 60 frames per second, straight from Google's data centers to a phone or a cheap Chromecast dongle plugged into your TV. Think Netflix but for games. You click a game and you are playing in seconds on hardware you already own. And that was genuinely seductive. A new console runs $400 to $500 before you buy a single game. Stadia erased that wall entirely. No $500 box gathering dust. No A-Tower downloads. No waitings. For anyone who had been priced out of gaming, the pitch landed. Buy nothing, play everything anywhere. On paper, it was the most convenient way to play ever built. But there is a catch hiding inside that convenience. And it is not about money. That catch is time. Here is the number that decides everything. When you press a button, your brain expects the screen to react almost instantly. Past about 30 milliseconds, 30 thousandths of a second, the delay between your press and the picture starts to feel wrong. Competitive players notice far less than that. Now here is the trap. A normal console or gaming PC is not instant either. Just reading your button, drawing the frame, and pushing it to your TV already burns roughly 30 to 40 milliseconds. So local play is sitting right at the edge of that budget before anything else is added. That 30 millisecond ceiling is the whole game for anything Twitch-based. Shooters where a single frame decides who wins. Fighting games timed to the exact frame. For a slow strategy game, a little delay is fine. For a quick draw duel, it is the difference between a hit and a miss. So the question becomes, what happens when you move the computer out of the room? You move it hundreds of miles away. That is the core of Stadia. The computer running your game is not under your TV. It is in a Google data center. So every button press has to make a round trip. Your press travels across the internet to that server. The server plays the game, and then it has to ship the finished picture all the way back to you. And that trip is not free. Follow the delay. The signal out and back over the network eats tens of milliseconds on its own. Then before the video can even leave the server, it has to be squeezed down small enough to travel. That is encoding. And when it reaches you, your device has to unpack it, decoding before you see a single pixel. Stack it up, network trip plus squeeze plus unpack, piled on top of that local 30 to 40. Even with a data center in your city and a flawless connection, you have already blown past the 30 millisecond budget for Twitch games. Break time equals 0, 6 is slash, and this is the part no engineer can delete. Light and wires have a speed limit. This is not bad code. It is physics. But lag was not the only wound. Even players who did not care about milliseconds ran into a wall at the checkout. Every game had to be bought again on Stadia, even if you already owned that exact game somewhere else. Your old library did not come with you, and you were not really buying games. You were renting access to a platform Google alone controlled. If Google flipped the switch, your purchases lived and died with it. That is a trust problem, and Google had earned it. The company has a long, well-documented history of launching products and then killing them. Fans call it the Google graveyard. So buyers did the math. Why sink real money into a store that might vanish? On top of that, the library stayed thin. Big new releases were often missing or late, so even a willing customer opened Stadia and frequently did not find the game they wanted. Convenient, yes. But why pay full price twice for games you might lose? That question kept the crowd away. Then came the endings. In late 2022, Google announced Stadia was shutting down. And in January 2023, it went dark, under 4 years after that confident launch. Here is the telling part. Google refunded the hardware and the games people had bought. A company defending a working product does not hand everyone their money back. Refunding customers is an admission the model did not work. And it gets sharper. To win, Stadia needed exclusive games, hits you could only play there. So Google built its own internal studio to make them. That studio was shut down before it shipped a single game. Break time equals 0, 6 is slash, read that again. The team meant to prove the platform's future was closed before it finished one title. So the shutdown was not a surprise ambush. The foundation had been quietly pulled out from under it long before the lights went off. Which brings us back to the question we started with. So solvable or a law of physics? Here is the answer clicking into place. That 30 millisecond budget is a ceiling built from two things no one can repeal. The speed of a signal traveling out and back, plus the time to squeeze and unpack every frame. Because that round trip and that encoding cannot be zeroed, Cloud gaming simply cannot beat sitting next to the machine. Not for Twitch games, no matter who funds it. Stadia did not fail for lack of money or talent. It fought a round trip it could never win, then made things worse with a store you could not trust and a shelf that stayed empty. And yet the idea is not dead. For slower games, the kind where a few extra milliseconds do not matter, cloud streaming works fine today. Xbox Cloud and GeForce now use it as a bonus, a way to try a game on any screen. Just not as a full replacement for the box under your TV. Stadia had a 30-millisecond budget and zero fix. A round trip it could never win. Would you stream your games on a screen you already own, or is the box under the TV here to stay? Tell me below and subscribe. Next, we open the box on what actually happens in those milliseconds.